Right. Hello and welcome, FPL managers, and welcome to the Zonal Weakness brought to you by Corner Football Fantasy, powered by Fantasy Football Scout. And yeah, we are back for Game Week 15 while the Game Week 14 is still ongoing. And I hope everyone is doing well, given the fact that Haaland has done brilliant. So most of us did go with the captaincy. So I think this was a good week, to be honest. Not rubbing salt on the wounds, but those of you who played triple captain, I think this could have been a perfect triple captain game week in hindsight, of course. But yeah, we could have said this. I mean, we can always say that this is the performance we could have expected, or we Haaland should have delivered against, um, in the game week 13. But it is what it is, and we are focusing now on game week 15, and our zonal seems to be doing well. So we are not going to do much today while the game week is still on. So let's have a quickly go through what the zonal is. This is going to be a quick one, so stay with us. And yeah, let's get started. I'm sorry. And this is, of course, the zonal weakness for Game Week 15. And if you haven't liked us, subscribed, and followed us on our X and Facebook and YouTube, then please do so now because you're missing out on regular contents, including the zonal weakness. And all the stats that you see on our shows, but also in our content that we are producing, it all comes from, of course, Fantasy Football Scout. The Black Friday offer of 45% off is still there. So, yeah, hurry up. And you can then dominate the rest of the season. I'm doing so. Suddenly, it seems like I'm having a very good run because I'm really focusing much on the zonal and of course trying to take the decision based on what the zonal is trying to suggest. Yeah. Now here is the zonal transfer review, and we'll just have a look at it. And the first player is, of course, Mateta, whom we suggested in game week 10 until game week 13, and then Pedro, whom we suggested in game week 11 until game week 15. Now we are bringing both these players together because we were not able to do it earlier. But as you can see, Mateta seems to have done well over the last 4 weeks, um, delivering in two of the matches, while not being able to really deliver against Wolves, where people expected quite a lot from him. But yeah, overall points per match is 4.5, which is pretty good. Yao Pedro, on the other hand, was a bit disappointing, to be honest, given the fact that he started brilliantly with Wolves and then having a fixture against Burnley, followed by Leeds, with Arsenal in the middle. And nobody really expected him to do well against Arsenal, but there were hope of his performance really doing being great against Burnley and Leeds. But that's where the disappointment seems to have happened, and I think he's just managed to deliver in one match out of the four matches with a point per match of 2.75. So not really a great shout, but just goes to show the kind of challenges that Chelsea currently is probably facing in terms of the inconsistency because the goals are coming from various sources, at least various players from Chelsea, right? Okay. Now, before I get into the zonal, I just want to mention one thing is that we do not focus on the rotations and we do not focus on the players who are going to really play on which particular zone. What we are really focusing on is the zone itself. Now, if you have a gut feeling or you're convinced that a particular player is going to start from a particular zone, then just have a look at the chart, see the kind of weaknesses that the opponents have, and then just decide on the player that you think will start in that particular zone. And I think the focus should be more on the zone itself rather than on the player itself. We are trying to make an educated guess. That's what I would say, that this is what we expect the players to play. And all the players that you would see in the chart are actually taken from the players who have actually played in the previous matches. But again, we are not really predicting rotations, and we don't know really the status of the injuries that some of the players have because the press conference is still not here. But yeah, without that, we'll still proceed, and I hope you enjoy it. And here is the chart for the first game week. Sorry, for the game week 15. And as you can see, Sunderland seems to be showing, despite having a very good performance over the season till now, seems to be showing a little bit of weakness the down the flanks, and you can see that they have conceded 34 chances down the right flank and are ranked worst. And also, again, in the center, they have conceded 24 chances and again ranked second. Now, this is in the right flank, and of course, in the center is where Doku and O'Reilly is going to play. Now, Doku and O'Reilly has been among the goal scorings and, of course, providing assists. But it's Haaland and Foden who've actually stolen all the limelight and, of course, all the grabbed all the points. Foden scoring 4 goals, of course, in the last 2 matches. And, of course, Haaland scoring a goal and 2 assists, of course. So that form is likely to continue over and be expected to continue against Sunderland. Now, the next fixture that I'm really going to focus on is, of course, Manchester United versus Wolves. Now, Wolves have been leaky, and of course, this is kind of quite indicative here in the zonal itself, with Bruno Fernandes and 𝐙𝐸 seems to be having a lot of potential, particularly because of the fact that Wolves are really weak down the center, conceding 26 chances and are the worst in terms of all the 20 teams that you see. On the other hand, on the left-hand flank, this is again Wolves is showing a lot of weaknesses, conceding 20 chances and are ranked fifth. And Mbeumo, who's been a little bit off in terms of delivering FPL points, might be able to capitalize again. Now, I'm saying this before his match against West Ham versus Manchester United tonight. So, yeah, let's see if he can deliver. And of course, Bruno Fernandes has a knock, so keep an eye on that as to whether he plays and whether he'll be able to play the next match either. But yeah, that's up to that. Moving on to the next fixture, which is Aston Villa versus Arsenal. And again, Merino, who's been slightly nicking in, chipping in the goals, of course, with after the Aziz hat-trick, it's been Merino's show a little bit. And I think this is where, again, Merino could do well. But Aston Villa has really shown a little bit of more form recently. So, yeah, defensively looks a little bit better, to be honest. But then again, you can see that Aston Villa have actually considered 25 chances down the center and are ranked second. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Merino or 𝐙𝐸 would be the one who could deliver. From the headed chances considered, again, Merino has a little bit of an opportunity, but Martinelli and Rice could also do well in terms of the crosses considered, particularly from the right flank, because this is where Aston Villa have considered 70 chances, 70 crosses over the last 6 game weeks. Yep. Right. And Burnley's, we know Burnley seems to be a little bit weak when it comes to their defensive numbers. But again, when they're facing Newcastle, at least the zonal chart doesn't really indicate all red and all green here for Newcastle. And yeah, there's not too much to really talk about except the fact that, all the positions, all the flanks, respectively, be the right or the left and center, they have considered 16, 17, and 17 chances and are ranked 10th, respectively, in all the flanks. So this is where probably you would see a bit of equal sort of a performance from Newcastle, but again, Burnley probably would be the low blocks. And headed chances is where Walter Moore could make a little bit of difference. He provided an assist last game week, so this is could be another game week where he could put himself again in the score sheet with 18 headed conceded by Burnley, and they're ranked fourth. So yeah, we would expect that to continue. Burns, on the other hand, and Gordon, on the other hand, could get a little bit of an assist in terms of the crosses considered, where Burnley have actually considered 73. So they're ranked second. So yeah, just keep an eye on that. Now, Nottingham Forest and Everton. Now, Everton did really well last game week, and of course, could do well again against Nottingham Forest, particularly Grealish, who's catching my attention a little bit. From the right flank, of course, Nottingham Forest have considered 21 chances and are ranked third worst, whereas also from the left flank, they've considered 22 chances and are ranked third. Now, that's where NDIA and Ghana would be playing, and of course, Grealish and Michael Winker would be occupying the other space. Yeah. Now, Leeds versus Liverpool, a bit disappointing, and of course, Liverpool performance seems to be not still up to the mark, I would rather call it. Yeah. But Isaac and Reeds, Isaac at least managing to score, so he could continue that streak against Leeds because of the fact that, Leeds have considered 21 chances down the center and are ranked fourth. But Salah being on the bench and then playing this match likely before he departs for the AFCON, and yeah, Leeds have actually, in the left flank, have conceded 22 chances and are ranked third. So this could be a moment, a game before Salah leaves, where he could find himself in the score sheet. Um, West Ham versus Brighton, and I think De Kuiper has shown a little bit of good form recently, scoring a goal, and he could likely to do well either with a score or maybe a goal or maybe an assist. Because this is where West Ham seems to be a little bit weak, conceding 22 chances and a ranked second. But even down the left flank, they're the weakest among all the 20 teams, conceding 28 chances and a ranked first. So this is a good sign, the fact that Mbeumo will be playing in this wing tonight. You can already start to look at it and then decide whether you would like to go for Minte and wait for, because if Mbeumo can capitalize on that weakness tonight, you would likely to expect that Minte might do this, um, or Brighton might actually exploit the similar sort of weaknesses of West Ham in the next match as well. Brighton and West Ham, of course, we continue with that fixture. Now, this is where we see a little bit of weakness from a Brighton defensive point of view, where they have considered 20 chances and are ranked fourth worst from the right flank. But even from the center, they have considered 21 chances and are ranked fourth. And of course, Callum Wilson and of course Diouf could be the ones who would be providing assist on the score. So yeah, that's something to keep an eye on. Moving on to the next chart, and it's not much green, so I would not really focus on all the white names, but I'll rather focus on the ones that are green. And yeah, it's the Everton versus Nottingham Forest, and Jesus could do well against Everton, particularly because of the Everton's weakness in terms of headed considered. Now, this is where Tarkowski, if he does manage to put an outstanding performance in terms of ensuring that headed considered is less. I think he could be again in the DEFCON, but yeah, it's Jesus who could actually capitalize, given the fact that Everton have actually considered 18 chances, headed chances considered, and are ranked fourth worst. From the left flank crosses, this is again Everton seems to be struggling a little bit with 70 crosses considered down the left flank and are ranked fifth. So Endue or Savona are likely to do well in this particular fixture. Crystal Palace versus Fulham. Now, this is a derby. As far as I know, this is a derby. So this could be a very close game and this could be an interesting game. But again, all of our favorite Munoz could do well again because of the fact that Fulham have actually considered 78 chance crosses and are ranked the worst. So in terms of the crosses considered from the left flank, Fulham seems to be the weakest. So this is where, again, Munoz could actually make those runs, do the crosses and put himself in the name in the score sheet in terms of the assists and stuff. So yeah, keep an eye and do play him in this match again. Moving on to the others. Now, I'm not really going to touch on all that. You can have a look at it and you can go through it by pausing the screen while you're watching the video. But I'm just going to quickly run to Manchester United versus Wolves. And yeah, Wolves are Manchester United defense particularly doesn't seem to be that weak, but again, the right flank seems to be a little bit of concern. Well, Belgrade and Wolf would be playing, conceding 19 chances and ranked sixth, slightly outside our parameter. But headed considered is where there is a bit of concern from Manchester United, showcasing the weaknesses in terms of the set pieces in particular, and of course the aerial ball. This is where they have considered 21 chances and a ranked second. So Shane Larson could do well again. From the crosses conceded, both the flanks seems to be weaker for Manchester United, having conceded 68 and of course 77. We're being ranked fifth in the right flank and of course ranked second in terms of the crosses considered on the left flank. So this is where Arias and of course Belgrade could again do well, right? Yeah, and I think I'll leave it to that and then just move on to the team of the week, which will be the last section for this show. And here's the team of the week. And of course, it's quite obvious as to why Welbeck makes it and why Haaland is there as well. Now, Foden being in super form, and of course, the weaknesses is quite clear in the chart as we have already shown. Fernandez as well. Marino has been nicking goals. Minte's weakness, West Ham's weakness is something that Minte could exploit. And of course, Salah before leaving could actually do well again, particularly from that particular flank, given the weaknesses that we have already seen in the chart before. De Kuiper has already scored a goal and looks very much attacking. O'Reilly, of course, seems to be a FPL darling currently, and a lot of managers are really putting forward. But of course, 4 goals against Fulham was something that was a bit of a bummer. But one game doesn't really define everything. So I think this is just a blip, and I would like I would like to stress that we can continue to keep faith on O'Reilly. Now, Lewis Hall is an interesting addition here, and I think that's particularly quite important. So do keep an eye out to see as to how Lewis Hall is doing. And of course, the obvious goalkeeper choice, given the fact that Everton is going to play, it's Pickford. So yeah, I think that's that for today, and we will see you, of course, before once the AFCON starts, and this is the last show before the AFCON. So a lot of players will be away. So those of you who are thinking of playing the free hit, this could be an opportunity to do so before, and it's just a 1 week punt. You take the players and then you get them out. But yeah, I think once the AFCON starts, I think the team is going to be a little bit more template because there's a very limited number of players, or the pool is kind of rather small. So we would have to pick from there. But yeah, it is what it is. And I wish you all the best for Game Week 15. And of course, Game Week 14 is continuing. So good luck with the last and final match between Manchester United and West Ham. Until then, we'll see you next week in Game Week 16. Take care. Bye bye.